All right, here we go. Top 5 worst beats I've taken in pool. I've been talking about, oh, I ran these 5 racks. I've been talking about, oh, here's my resume, whatever. I'm hero stories. Okay, I thought about this when I was out of town, when we were in Colorado, and I thought, what are the worst beats I've taken? Maybe I should do a video on that. Just kind of balance things out. Yeah, and once I thought about it, and I look at them, and there's 5 of them, and it's like, I lose, and then I don't really have any answers from the first couple losses, and then right at the 3rd loss, 4th loss, 5th loss, I start like learning more. So it's funny. It's like I'll just call this 4 decades of losing. All right. So here's the first loss. I'm 14 years old. I've been playing pool for about a year. I jump in a car and go down 4 hours away to the Quad Cities with some adults. Like, these guys were in their early 20s or around 20 or 21 or whatever, and I'm 14. My brother's 15. I think he was there too. So we go down to Miller Time Billiards in the Quad Cities, and this is big bar that used to have like probably 2 to 4 times a year they'd have big tournaments, like 128 person tournaments on bar tables. Races to 3 or 4 8-ball, double elimination kind of thing. And we go down this, the first big tournament I went to in 14, and I had played tournaments before, and I had won tournaments already, and at like local little things. And so I was like, I didn't know any different. I just thought, well, I play hard, I play against adults, I do my best, let's go. So we get down there, I'm in this bar, 14 years old, I'm out of town, and basically it's like this big long building, Miller Time. There's a bar in back, and then there's all kinds of seating, and it drops down into a pit that you walk down into to play pool. So there's like an overlook. So I'm playing on the front table in front of the overlook, and I am 14, and I'm playing this adult guy, and I'm running him over. And I don't know any better. I'm just doing the best I can. I'm literally just zoned in. This is 40 years ago, and I can remember this. So this was a really, had a lot of impact on me, I think, because I still remember it pretty vividly. I can remember not the layouts of the table, but I can remember what was going on. And what happened was, I was playing a guy, and his buddies were up on the rail, and they started heckling me in the middle of the match. And that was not good for me, because I was a little kid. I was a child, right? But I'm in this adult world, and I guess I just learned that, it's tough out there, because I completely got out of the moment. It worked, I went from just running this dude over to could not make a ball, because what happened was, I realized that there was this, I knew there was a big wall of people watching, and I was on the front table, but I was aware, but well, I was zoned. I was in the zone, like in my box on the table, just zoned into the table. And when he started heckling me, it got me out of the moment, and I started realizing that I wasn't alone, and that and I got out of the moment, and I lost the match, and I had a good lead, and I just sort of fell apart, and I just learned the hard way that pool can be tricky and tough and slippery, and people can be awful, right? And so I look at that, and I sit there, and for many years I thought, I wonder if that's what caused me to have performance anxiety playing in front of crowds. I've never enjoyed it. I do now. I almost have zero problem with it now, because of all the work I've done in front of the camera, and I did that purposefully to allow myself to grow as a person, to be okay in front of people. But I look back at that Miller Time experience, and it was a really rough beat for me, because I feel like it set me on a path where it was like a trauma thing almost. And then I just struggled for decades playing in front of people after that. And, I can't say for sure that's what caused it. That's the first time I was aware of like a crowd, and it was hard for me. It was really hard for me, and it sucked, because I look at it obviously as an adult now, and I think, who would do that to a kid? But people do it, and it was 40 years ago in different times, and I was playing in an adult situation, and I just had to, I'm gonna deal with adult shit, you know, and that's what happened. And so it's not like wham, 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 poor me. It might sound like that, and I don't think that's what I'm saying. I just think that I'm saying, I didn't really have a big takeaway from that, other than my only memory and takeaway from that was, it was tough on me to have that happen, okay? So that's fine. Like, that's the first big beat I took really early on, and it sort of maybe had an impact on my ability to play in front of crowds for a while, right? So anyways, that was that. So what I'm saying is, okay, that's my first big beat that I took, and I didn't really learn much from it. It was sort of tough on me, which is fine, because we'll get through these stories and we'll see growth, hopefully, together. The next one is IPT. So that was a big thing, and that was going for a little while. There was no tour, and then Trudeau came in and funded this tour and did this like tier system to get into their tournaments, and their tournaments paid out really big money, and so it was kind of a big deal. Well, the IPT came to Minnesota as a qualifier, and I played in a sub-qualifier, and I put $100 or $150 in, and we played like 8 people maybe in a tournament, I don't know, and it was a single elimination, and I ended up winning that tournament and got to the next round, basically, which was a $1,200, $1,500 entry into another qualifier. And I think that tournament might have had 16 players, if I'm right. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It was like literally 20 years ago. But I make it through to the next tournament, and it was cool because I went to Shooters, which is a local place, and I look at the field and I'm like, holy cow, this field has like real players in it. It wasn't local people necessarily. There was like, I think there was maybe only two local guys maybe, and the rest of people were either qualified or paying their entry fee to try to get on in their tour spot. So to me, that was my first like tough field professional event, because almost everyone in the field was 700 plus, and was like a $1,500, $1,200 entry fee. So I'm like, okay, I don't remember if it was 8 or 16 players, but it was a single elimination. It was a race to 10, I think, 8-ball. And so it was a big tournament, a really the strongest field I played in, with like professional rated and professional players. I would say lower. It wasn't like there was like 800s. I mean, they didn't even have Fargo back then, but I'm saying probably the ratings were like in the high 600s all the way up to like the mid 700s. And it was a pretty tough field, and almost everybody was over 700, I'd say. And I ended up, they allowed coaching. So I had a coach in my corner, and I get to the finals of the tournament. So I got one more match, and if I win that match, I can go to Vegas and play in an IPT event, and I'm guaranteed $5,000 just for showing up. And I'll have a chance to, like, every time you fought out of one of those rounds, I think it was another $5,000 bump. So I think they had like a round robin situation in the IPT. So anyways, it was a cool setup, and the tour folded, whatever, but it was really important to me at the time. And it was cool because there was like players over 700 that were in Minnesota that wanted to do this, and I had fought through a bunch of 700 type players, or a decent group of them, to get to the finals of this tournament. So I was really happy and excited, and I think a big reason why I leveled up sort of overnight and just played so great in the first part of this tournament is because I had coaching, and it just sucked because the guy that was coaching me went home and said, I'm not coming back for the finals. It was the same night. It was in 2 or 3 hours. And I was pretty devastated, and it is what it is. I ended up losing in the finals against a local guy that played great, and I just couldn't do it. I just was pretty upset, and it was tough for me, because I felt like I played so good with him helping me, and he took off, and it just kind of tilted me, and I tried my best, and I just lost, you know, and it was a pretty hard loss. It's like, I'm not blaming that guy or my coach or whatever. I'm just saying that was a really hard loss for me. That was a really hard loss because I really wanted to make it to the IPT for that event and win my spot to get there, because I really felt like at this point, 20 years ago, I was like an amateur player, and I was trying as an adult to get to a professional level of play. And, you know, to me at the time, it was important, you know, that I do this journey, and I felt like winning my way through to an IPT event was pretty cool, you know, and I was really close. And the good news is I played some really great pool and beat some really good players to get to the finals. The bummer was that I lost in the finals, and it was a tough beat for me, and that's what the video's about. It's just tough beats, and sometimes you learn from them as we'll go forward, and I'll learn, and sometimes you just sort of take the tough beat and you're just like, man, that's tough, and you just sort of sit with it and accept it and try to move on, you know. And I think that's my takeaway from that IPT qualifier was, well, the sub qualifier was pretty cool because the guy I beat in the finals is a heck of a local player, and it's cool to look back 20 years and be like, yeah, 20 years ago, you know, this guy's a 730 now, and I'm like, yeah, 20 years ago we were both coming up, and we played in the finals of the qualifier, and I got him pretty easily, like, or handily, I'll say, like I did well, you know. And so I look at that IPT experience and I think, you know, that's when I really started kind of moving towards thinking that I could play a little bit. Up until that point, I was just, you know, the culture of the area that I'm in this state was, you know, kind of non-supportive, I guess I'd say. So I always thought I was just hot garbage on a pool table, and that's it, because that's kind of the way I was told by like the professionals. They were like, you're trash. Okay, so I'm trying to come up and play a professional level, and all the professionals, or all of them, like the few of them that are in the area, are like, you're trash, you're trash, you're trash, basically, okay? And so I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of fighting this battle, and the IPT was kind of one of the ways I was trying to see if I could make it, you know, or if I was playing better. And so it was just kind of a disappointing loss, you know, because I didn't make it. But I kind of came back from it, I never gave up. I kept pushing forward, and I just regrouped and moved on. So then, let's see, I got another one here. Well, there was a big money match I played. 15 ahead for 2,000. I think it was 2,000. And I played a guy, and I got up the first 7 or 8 games, like right off the bat. And there was a bunch of people watching and in front of a crowd, and I hate playing in front of crowds. Even this was probably, shoot, man, this has got to be over 10 years ago. And I got up 7 or 8 ahead in the first 2 hours, and then I just basically sat in that chair and had a panic attack. And I had a panic attack basically, and I just folded, you know. I just folded. I just couldn't do it. I just thought I made a mistake. I do not want to be here in a 15 ahead set. I mean, that could take days. And I was just not prepared for that type of like war or battle or anything. Like I said, like, this is over 10 years ago. I was so results focused back then. I just had very, very, very weak like mental game. And I was very like anxious and all those things, and depressed and things. So it's like, I played that match, and I remember being 7 ahead to 15 in the first hour or two. And then I just looked at myself. I was just sitting there in the chair, and I was like, I can't do this. How can I do this for another 15 hours where we're going to battle back and forth and all that stuff? So I lost. I basically melted down, had a panic attack, and fought as hard as I could for as long as I could, and just held on, and I was effed. And I kind of knew it like an hour or two in. I'm like, I'm up 7, and I'm like, it kind of washed over me, and I wasn't in the spot I am now mentally, and I just folded. I'm just like, I am screwed right now. And I basically had a panic attack and lost. And so I look at that match and I'm like, well, what did I learn from that? And it's like, well, I learned that I need to be, you know, at the time I didn't learn anything. I just panicked, you know? And I think one of the things I learned from that match is that, you know, if I come back, like I quit pool once or twice after that match, whatever. I didn't quit pool over that match, but like as I quit pool and kind of thought about pool, I guess that match would make me realize how low I can go in pool, meaning like how negative I can get with pool, and how I never want to go through that again or feel that again. So the whole thing when I talk about process minded and process, and I'm 20% results, and that I quit and I came back and all that stuff, it's because of matches like that $2,000 match where I melted down, I had a panic attack, and I completely fell apart. And I just wanted to like flee and escape and whatever. And I was so negative, I sat there in that chair because we ended up playing another 10 or 12 hours from that point, and he ground me down. And I had to sit in that chair for 10 hours and just the negative shit that I thought was like next level. So I looked at that and I learned from that, and I realized I never want to experience that again. So when I quit and came back, I'm like, that is never going to happen again. Not that I'm never going to be in a situation where I'm under stress or anything like that, because I have been under stress many, many times since I came back. And I quit probably 6 years ago and came back 5 years, whatever. But I promised myself I'm never going to get that into pool that I'm just not going to be negative about it. I'm not going to be that so attached to results. I'm going to play because of joy and because of all these things that I do and the things that I'm sharing with you. Now I don't have the problems I had. I don't have the meltdowns. I don't, whatever. And we'll see as it goes on. You'll see that it has worked. Okay. So that was a big loss. And basically I didn't learn anything directly after that loss other than down the road, I'm like, I never want to experience that again. That type of negativity, the way I sat in that chair for 10 hours and just thought about the most like disgustingly negative shit. So from that standpoint, it was a good loss, right? Because I learned from it, but it might have taken me a few years to learn from that. It might have taken me, I don't know, almost a decade to learn from that. So then, okay, so now this is a funny one. I play this guy, and it's really hard for me to get action in Minnesota. It's a thing, man. People are really concerned about their rating and their status in the community, I think, because it's very difficult to get action when you're over 700 against other players over 700. So I end up playing this. I end up putting out a notice that I want to play, and I wasn't even playing bar table 8-ball at the time. I wasn't. I had played in those tournaments and national titles and all that stuff, but essentially I wasn't a bar table player at all. I was a big table player. And this dude that was about a 640-ish said he'd play me like a race to 21. Well, we were supposed to play for like $500. So then, or $1,000 or something. And I'm excited. I'm like, okay, good. Because at the time, this is probably like 8 years ago or something. And at the time, there was like this thing where people were like, I mean, in general, around Minnesota, where they're like, well, Josh plays big table, but he can't play bar table. He doesn't play bar table. He can't play on a bar table. And it's funny because I was like, what? Bar tables are like fake pool. Who cares? I mean, whatever, bar tables, like, how is that a thing that's a negative that you don't play on bar tables? And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'll just play this guy because I'm in this sweet spot. I'm going to play him for 1,000. I've got him by like, a wide margin on skill. And I'm like, yeah, I don't play bar tables, but shit, I should be able to figure this out. Well, what happened was, what happened was, I'll just cut to the chase. I don't even want to tell you all the crazy shit that happened to get the match together. He ended up showing up with no money. We ended up playing for 200, race to 21, and I had to like let him free roll me because he didn't have any money. So basically, I went from playing $1,000 match to, by the time the match started, he was trying to cancel the match all the way up until the moment of the match. And then finally he shows up like late for the match. And then he says, I don't have any money. And I'm basically like, so I'm putting up 200 for free for you to try to take a shot at me. And I'm like, well, I need to play. I want to play. And I played. And, there's a couple other things that happened. The ball set was like this like a completely different ball set than I was used to. So like the colors were all off, and I'm just like, it was kind of fun housey. And I'm just like, this is awful. And I got really negative and depressed because I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm playing this guy. I'm supposed to be playing for 1,000. He doesn't even have the money. I'm putting up 200, giving him a free shot at me, right? Because he's probably going to stiff me if I win. And I just got really negative, and it was like the actual opposite of what I thought was going to happen. So anyways, I sit there and I eat shit, and I lose this match to this guy. And it's a race to 21, and I probably lost 21 to like 14 or 15. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I was literally as bad, negative, miserable as you can be. A panic attack again, another panic attack in a match. I basically had a panic attack, and I end up losing. And this is where the worm kind of turns in my like journey with pool. That loss, I walked outside with my cue, and I paid him off, and it was completely embarrassing. And I felt awful. And I said something to myself in the car. By the time I got to the car, I was smiling. And I said, this is going to propel me, because this woke me up on what bar table pool is. And it's going to ruin this guy's game. It's going to ruin him. I said, and you can believe me if you want to believe me or not believe me, I said to myself when I was in my car, 5 minutes after I paid him and walked out, I said, he will never play pool again. He's done. Because he is going to put all this pressure on himself because he beat a 700 and he's a 640 or whatever in a race to 21. I literally had a panic attack and melted down and played terrible. And he played good. He played good. He played at the top of his range. I played absolutely awful. He deserved to win. It's nothing wrong with that. Everything's fine. I paid him his money. Everything's good. I'm not disparaging him. He played great. Everything. The only thing I'm saying is I knew him and his personality type. Straight brim cap, tattoos, strutting around the table. And I'm like, this dude's effed. And I said, him beating me, he's going to put himself up in the top echelon of like pool players in Minnesota, because I was in the top probably 5 or 10 players at the time, at least what people thought. And I just knew that was a bad thing for him to beat me. It was going to be worse for him to win than it was for me to lose. And I said, my game is going to go like this, and his game is going to go like this, and he's probably going to quit pool. And I'll tell you what happened. Exactly that happened. And that's why I was driving away and I was smiling and I was laughing and I was happy on this match, because I'm like, that was awesome for my game. Because then I committed to 8-ball on a bar table, and I started playing bar table pool because Reno was coming up, and they had two big, like 3 big tournaments on bar tables. They had 10-ball, 8-ball, and 9-ball. And I pushed my chips in for like a month and just exclusively played bar table pool and got ready for that tournament. And by the time I went out to Reno, I was sitting there at the end of one of the tournaments playing Dennis or Colo when there was only like 4 or 5 tables going. And I looked down the row. This is 1 month after losing to this guy and just being devastated. And I was playing, and there was like 8 people playing, and they were all like world-class players. And I was in that group playing at the end of this tournament, and it was a bar table tournament. So I'm playing Dennis Orcolo, like, XYZ Pro is playing over here, like everybody's 750 to 800. And I'm sitting there late in this 8-ball tournament, and I'm like, yeah, I am now a better bar table player because of that match, because of that loss. I put in that time. I ended up playing another guy that played similar to the guy, the 640 range. He was actually a 640. and we were friends, and I was more comfortable, and we were just playing, and we played a race to 25, and I think I beat him like 25-5 or something before we went to Reno, because we went to Reno together. And I just remember being out in Reno and being so dialed and feeling so good on a bar table, and cashing in all 3 events, and being deeper in these events, and being like, and then there was like guys that were there that I was trying to get action with. So now I was hungry to play, and I was trying to get action, and I was playing really good on a bar table. And it's like, it was just like 2 weeks or a month after that match that was a really, like, one of the most embarrassing losses I had. So it was, now I was starting to learn from my losses, you know, more, and be more like, I don't know what you'd say, just like calm and accepting about it. And then from there, I've had other losses, you know, it's like, for sure other losses, but these are kind of the bigger ones, and what I learned from them or didn't learn from them, or how they affected me. And then the last one I'll just go over is Charivari. I was out at Derby. I drew Charivari, and we were in the 9-ball. I don't know if we were in the money or whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's like round 4 or something. But I drew him, and I thought, oof, I just was not in a good spot in Derby last year. I was so all in on my former project that I was involved in that I just wasn't prepared. I was putting all my energy towards that place, and I went out to Derby, and I was ill prepared, and played Charivari, and dude shot my nuts off. He played so good. And I just remember sitting there playing Shari and thinking, I walked up to play him, and I thought, I like this dude. He's really nice. And this is a good draw and a bad draw, because I just wasn't mentally in a good spot at that point. And I'm like, this is not good. I don't feel good mojo playing him right now, because I knew he's playing really good. And I just was not mentally tough last year. I just was really weak. And so I go there, and I didn't feel good. And Shari just shoots my nuts off, basically 9-1. And I just remember sitting in that chair, and it wasn't like when I was younger, right? Because of all the work I've been doing over the last 6 years, all the stuff I'm teaching you guys, all the stuff I'm trying to help you with, I sat there against Shari, getting smoked, knowing that he's gonna make a video on it. I just knew it. I'm like, okay, he's gonna make a video. He's highlight reeling me here. This is absolutely getting made into a video. And I'm like, great, like now, 50,000 people are gonna watch Charivari run me over. And I'm like, it's fine. It's totally fine. And the reason why it's fine is because I don't care. I just don't. I'm at a point now where I'm not caring what people think that aren't in my group, right? Meaning anybody that would watch a video like that and think, well, I don't want to work with him as a coach, or I don't want to do this, or I don't like that about because he lost. It's like, well, those aren't the people that are important to me in my life. And so I sat there and said, well, this has zero impact on me, right? And then I looked at it, and I'm not bullshitting you guys. I'm telling you the truth. I was so happy for Shari, like we're bros or something. I know him a little bit. But what I'm saying is, I know how nice that dude is. I could tell how hard he worked to get to his game to where he could deliver a set like that. And I knew that it was like an important set to him, like it was a meaningful set. And so I just kept my mouth shut. I smiled. I was as gracious as I just was gracious. I just was gracious, and I smiled, and I just took it, and I just knew I'm fine. And I was happy for him. I was legitimately happy for him. I couldn't do anything. Like, I'm not gonna do what the guy did in the first tournament where he's gonna try to upset something. I'm not gonna, I have a buddy that plays pool, and he used to start fights when we were playing pool in together with like a team situation. And I'd say, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I got to shake him up, And it's like, I just feel like that's really gross. And I would never do that to Charivari. Like, I was like, I want to keep quiet and just let him have his moment. Because these moments that we have in pool, I have had hundreds of moments in pool. Why do I need to take away Charivari's moment? That's completely selfish, unfair, and just selfish, right? And it's like, I'd like to think of myself as a giver and not a taker, and a selfless person. And so the way that comes out is that when I'm playing and Charivari is shooting my nuts off, I just want to stay quiet. I do not, he's got a no-hitter going. I do not want to disrupt his no-hitter. I don't want to be the guy to disrupt his no-hitter. I want to just be happy for him and enjoy it. There's going to be other tournaments. There's going to be other situations for me. I'm going to have my moments, even at this lowest point. Like that seemed at the time, honestly, it seemed like one of my lower points in pool to get beat that bad, knowing that there was going to be a video made after. And I'm like, this is pretty bad. And especially when I'm this brand ambassador and all this nonsense. And I'm like, so it felt like pretty big in the moment, but I really realized, like, I've done a lot of growing where it really was manageable for me. And I actually, wasn't it just manageable for me, I actually could feel joy for Charivari in that situation. And I could just keep my mouth shut and not disrupt the no-hitter. And I just took a lot of like pride in that, or I was like very happy about that. And so, you know, it wasn't fun to lose. I didn't like it. I sat there and it was squirmy, but I had the smile. I let him have his moment, and I just realized I'll have my moments, and it's just not going to be in this tournament. And honestly, he earned that moment. He did. I could tell by his level of play and the way he was playing that he had worked to get to that moment. I had not worked for that moment. So he deserved that moment. I did not. So I'm totally happy for him. And now when I have my moments, I say, I'm happy for me, and nobody can take that moment from me. And I don't have to have a moment every time I pick up my cue, but there are times where I have moments with my cue in my hand, and I get to enjoy that. And so I'm okay, because I know that I'll have them in the future. I know it's never the end, and I know that things change like that, and I know that we get what we get with what we give to the game. And I just didn't give much to the game last year when I went out there, and I was fine with what happened and my results and things like that. And I'm just like, yeah, I could have done better. I think I cashed 2 out of 3, like I said in the other video, and I could have won a few more matches, or things could have been better, but they could have been worse. And I didn't put a bunch of time in, so I accept what happened. So anyways, that's kind of like some of the bigger losses I booked. And there's a few of them at the beginning where it's like, I don't really know what I learned, other than I just want to share them with you. And I learned a few things. And then towards the end, the last 2, I learned a lot, you know. In the one where I lost to the guy for the bar table thing, I was able to take that and use it to really motivate myself to push my chips in and become a better bar table player. And since then, you know, here we are a decade later, and I ran 12 out of 15 on bar table 8-ball and created this whole run out series and all these things. And like I ran 5 in league the other night. So it's like I have these high moments now, and that didn't end my career. And then I look back, and that kid doesn't even play pool anymore. And it worked kind of like I thought. Like he just retired. Like he just said, well, I beat a 700 for $200 in a race on a bar table, so it's over. I retire from pool. And I'm not retired. I just took my licks and went on and had good things happen. Like a month after, years after, a decade later, whatever. I'm just keep moving forward, you know? And the same thing with Shari. It's like I get my nuts shut off. I just ran through that whole thing. You know, I would have never been capable of having that approach and that mindset and that handling it that way. But I am now, you know, and it took me decades to learn that. And that's why I have so much passion to help you guys, is because and that's why I want to make this video, to share, like it takes time to build these things, but when you can build these things, these tools or these skills or these concepts, it really can help you to manage the losses. And now I lose and I'm fine. I just am totally fine. And then when I win, I'm fine too. And I do win more than I lose, but I'm okay with the losses and I'm fine with the wins. And I just sort of love playing and love learning. And that's what I'm trying to like bring to you guys, I guess. So, all right. Thanks for listening. Hopefully it helped. Yeah, I guess we'll just see in the comments what you guys think. All right. We'll talk to you later. I love you guys. Bye.